Bess as a lion, and Bess as a leopard. It's important to note that the American jaguar is part of the leopard family. Bess, in the form of a leopard, is another suggestion of his connection to America because of the connection between the African leopard and the American jaguar. Spanning the years 2700 to 1163 BC and representing a time between ancient Egypt's Old Kingdom and the last recorded contact with Punt, a highly esteemed Egyptian trading partner whose actual whereabouts remain mysterious and controversial to this day, the following series of photos from both sides of the Atlantic raise interesting questions about a possible link between ancient Egypt and America at a time when the land of pharaohs were sending ships to an unknown civilization in an unknown land somewhere across an uncertain sea. Some ancient Egyptian records mention trading with a land known as Punt. It's uncertain where the land of Punt is. The Egyptian record is unclear. However, the ancient Egyptians are very clear that you can only get to Punt by boat. It's entirely possible that Punt is beyond Assyria, Babylonia, beyond the limits of ancient Egypt's knowledge of the known world. Punt certainly fits the description of such places as India, Southeast Asia, and the western islands of Indonesia. But at the same time, there are indications in the ancient Egyptian record that point to Mexico as the location of Punt. Egyptian records of the voyages to and from Punt often state that people from Punt were brought back to Egypt with the returning ships. The people from Punt may have brought things from home with them when they arrived to Egypt. If some of these immigrants from Punt settled in ancient Egypt, we might be able to find vestiges of their homeland culture in the archaeological record of Egypt. If some of the arrivals from Punt attained high status in ancient Egyptian society and were buried with pomp and ceremony in true Egyptian fashion, we might find clues about their homeland in Egyptian burials. And if we can find traces in ancient Egyptian burials that suggest people from America, it strengthens the suggestion that Punt is located somewhere in Mesoamerican Mexico, not India, not China, not the Arabian Peninsula. Okay, here's the first picture. This is a traditional Egyptian sarcophagus lid. There's no mistaking where this came from or the approximate time period it belongs to. Now, take a look at the portrait of the person on the lid. Who's buried here? The portrait of the person on the sarcophagus lid suggests a Native American is buried there, not an Egyptian. The next picture is an ancient Egyptian sarcophagus lid that I thought looked interesting and suggested a Native American influence. Next is an Egyptian funerary object that struck me as having a Native American flair to it. The next picture is astounding. Take a look at the feather headdress that comes down from the head and surrounds the face. The depiction of the deceased bears an interesting likeness to a Native American wearing a full feather bonnet. And what's really eerie about this is the feathers in the deceased person bonnet are colored red, white, and blue. The imagery on the sarcophagus lid is compelling, and it's easy to see the Native American imagery screaming at us from ancient Egypt. The next photo is a sarcophagus lid from ancient Egypt showing a more traditional Egyptian motif, but betraying hints of Native American influence. Again, we see a reference to the feather bonnet as expressed by the bird wings hovering at the top of his head. The fabric pattern on the headband and on the wrap covering the torso has a Native American vibe to it. Okay, here's a fun one. In this picture, we see 6 collar necklaces that are all similar in style, design, and construction. 2 are ancient Egyptian, 2 are authentic Native American, 1 is pre-conquest Aztec, and 1 is a modern replica. Can you tell which ones are which? Here's the answer to the necklace question. Top left, Native American. Top right, ancient Egyptian. Middle left, pre-conquest Aztec. Middle right, modern replica. Bottom left, ancient Egyptian. Bottom right, Native American. The stylistic resemblance between Native American collar necklaces and those found in ancient Egyptian burials are interesting. Because ancient Egyptian mariners brought people from Punt to Egypt, and we find jewelry objects in Egypt that suggest the American continent, it's easy to suggest that Punt was in America. The next picture is Shawabti of Maya. Let me say that again. The next picture is Shawabti of Maya. It's a wood statue inlaid with glass and is 16 inches tall, 40.6 centimeters for those of you who speak metric. It comes from the reign of Amenhotep III, who ruled Egypt between 1390 and 1353 BC. And it is or was on display at the Brooklyn Museum of Art. Not only is Maya an unusual word to appear in ancient Egypt, this statuette is from the reign of a pharaoh who ruled Egypt at a time when they still had contact with Punt, that unknown land across an uncertain sea. During my research, I only encountered the word Maya in ancient Egypt one other time, and that was the name of a treasurer for Tutankhamun, who ruled Egypt between 1332 and 1323 BC. Tutankhamun is another pharaoh who ruled when ancient Egypt maintained contact with Punt. There are other interesting connections between King Tut and the Maya as well. The top row of skulls are from Central and South America. Okay, I know what you're thinking. A guy with the name Joe the UFO, elongated skulls, alien conspiracy theories, all Star Trek is going to break loose, right? Not so. No aliens, no Atlantis. Everything presented in this video comes from the archaeological sites, historical records, mythologies, and religious beliefs of the ancient world on both sides of the Atlantic. Meanwhile, back at Tut and Maya and interesting, the top row of photos show elongated skulls from Central and South America. The photo on the bottom left is a computer image of King Tut's actual skull. Note that Tut's skull is elongated like those from Maya Mexico and Inca South America. It's a strange connection linking Tut to the Maya, and it's a strange thing to find in two civilizations separated from each other by thousands of miles of water at a time when Egypt was known to sail to and from Punt, an unknown land across an uncertain sea. The last photo at bottom right is a statue bust confirming that ancient Egypt was familiar with the practice of skull elongation, or those who underwent the process. The next set of photos show ancient Egyptian women with a bird on their head. This is a common image in ancient Egyptian art. The accepted explanation for the bird atop the head is that it is a vulture. That's all fine and well. However, in some renditions, there are certain aspects of the bird that suggest something other than a vulture. First, look at the tail feathers. They're arranged in a way that suggests a turkey, not a vulture. And speaking of turkeys, how about the body? The depiction of the body suggests something plump, like a turkey. The neck and face allude to turkey features as well. Now, seeing a turkey atop these ladies' head instead of a vulture is all fine and well, except that turkeys are native to America, not the Old World. Now,